Hey everybody, Backpack Hack here, coming at you with another trail tip and video 3 of my series of how to make the ice in your cooler last longer. And I've already done 2 other videos. Video number 1 was the first 10 tips. Video 2 was the second 10 tips. So now we're going to be covering 21 through 30. Now if you want to, I'll put a link to these 2 other videos up here in the top right corner, as well as in the description below if you want to go watch those, because they are in kind of a chronological order from purchasing a cooler to how to pack it, how to pre-chill it, how to carry it, how to use it, and they're kind of in a logical order. So today I'm going to be covering tips number 21 through 30. Now I want to qualify these by saying that there is nothing you're going to do that's going to magically make any cooler a super cooler that's going to last 2 or 3 times longer than what you're used to. You're fighting the laws of physics. There's nothing you can do about it. But using some of these tips, you might be able to extend the ice in your cooler a day, maybe 2, depending on the circumstances. Now, I can't get into whether one tip is going to work better than this, or do these 2 work together, or how does this work on my cooler, because there's too many variables. I can't address individual coolers, individual people, how they, the weather they're going to be in. I can't address that. So that's going to be up to you. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, label everything. Even if you know what's in the package, put a label on it, because somebody else may open up the cooler and pull out a package and they stand there, it's like, what in the world is this? Well, the cooler's open. If you label everything, you know what you have. So if you know what you're after, you can see that label, you pull it out, and you get that lid closed as fast as possible. Number 21, label everything. Number 22, pack your cooler in chronological order. In other words, plan your menus for your trip. Let's say you're gone for 7 days and you're going to have 21 meals in your cooler. Pack what you're going to eat last at the bottom of your cooler and stack everything in reverse chronological order, so the first meal you're going to eat is on top or towards the top. That way you aren't shuffling through trying to find a meal. Say, I want this meal for tonight, for dinner tonight, and you're trying to dig through the cooler. If you pack it in chronological order, you just work your way down through the cooler till you get to the last meal on the bottom. Now, if you don't care what you have for a meal, you just grab the next one out, that's fine. But I like to have certain meals for my midday meals, certain meals for my evening meals, and I pack my cooler in reverse chronological order. So I start with my first meal at the top and my last meal of the trip is at the bottom. Number 23, only pack what you know is going to be consumed. In other words, don't put something in your cooler just in case somebody might like it. For instance, let's say that you and a bunch of friends are going to go out on a week-long fishing trip out in the middle of nowhere, which is what we're talking about. We want you to have that ice last for your week-long trip. And you're in charge of drinks. Well, don't go to the store and buy drinks that you don't know if anybody's going to like. Ask your friends, what do you like? If nobody likes cream soda, there's no reason to have cream soda in your cooler, because that's space that could be used for ice. So ask your friends what they do and don't like, what their preferences are, and make sure that you purchase and cool and put in your cooler only things that you know are going to be consumed. Number 24, pack your entire meals together. It's very easy for us to get into this mind of what we have in our refrigerators at home. You open up a refrigerator, all your ingredients are here. Well, that may work in your refrigerator, but not in your cooler when you're out in the field. You don't want to have a separate container for ketchup and a separate container for mayonnaise and a separate container for butter if you're going to make a sandwich. Have all that stuff prepackaged in one package, so when you reach into your cooler and grab a bag out of there, your entire meal is right there. Don't take like a tub of butter and put it in your cooler, and then every time you want butter, you take it out, you put a little bit of butter on your bread, and then put it back in your cooler, because when it's sitting out here, it warms up. And when you put that back in, that heat has to be absorbed by your ice. If you have everything packaged together, you just reach in, grab the package, close the lid, and everything you need for your meal is right there. Now, sometimes you can get these little pre-packages that you see in the restaurants of ketchup and sugar and sweetener and things like this. If you can source those things, great. Keep them in there, but package the entire meal together so you're in and out of that cooler faster. Number 25. This is a very easy one to do. It's nice to have a nice cold drink of water, but don't put water in your cooler. Take containers and put water in them and freeze them and use them as ice until they melt. Once they melt, then you've got nice cold water to drink. So you get a double duty out of that. You're using it as ice. Once it melts, you've got a nice cold drink, because on a real hot, steamy day, taking a nice cold drink of water is real refreshing. But you don't want to start out with water, start it out as ice. Number 26, line your cooler with a sheet of Reflectix. Now, if you don't know what Reflectix is, it's a product that looks like bubble wrap made out of mylar. And it's an insulating material that you find in home centers. And you can buy a roll of it for about $16, $18. And just go down to the home center and buy one and cut it to fit the inside of your cooler. That will give you a little more insulation value to your cooler and make your ice last a little bit longer. Number 27, on the flip side of lining your cooler with Reflectix, basically wrap your cooler with Reflectix. A lot of people do this, and they make a piece that fits around the outside and then a lid that sits over the top. Now, this is something I've never done, but I know some people that have. And that little extra layer of insulation is going to make the ice in your cooler last longer. Plus, instead of like putting it on the inside, which would leave less room for ice, you're not taking up room inside the cooler. All that insulation is on the outside. Number 28. I stated in a previous video that block ice is the best option for long-term ice retention. That is true, but it's very, very difficult to get a block to perfectly fit into your cooler and take up every cubic inch of what your product doesn't take up. So get a block of ice, put it in there, put your product in there, and then fill every other void in there with cube ice. Get as much cube ice as you can in there into all those little nooks and crannies around the block of ice and into your product. Fill as much ice in there as you can with cube ice. Number 29. This is a tip that I use a lot with my large cooler. And I put a layer of Reflectix between my product and my ice that's in the bottom of my cooler. This allows me to open up the cooler, and I don't allow warm air to get clear down into the cooler. It stays towards the top. It's kind of an insulating barrier between the top and the bottom of the cooler. So adding a layer of Reflectix or closed cell styrofoam, if you want to use that, between the product that you have on top and your ice down at the bottom. That way the warm air, when you open up the cooler, doesn't immediately rush onto the ice. And that can help save a little bit of ice for later on. And finally, number 30. This is one I see the biggest sin. When you go to an organized campground, you see this all the time. Coolers sitting out in the sun. Now, I know it's sometimes inconvenient to get up in the morning and you make breakfast and you want to go do what you want to do. You want to go on that hike, or you want to head to the lake and go fishing, or you want to get out and go see the sights. I get that. But stop and think. My cooler's sitting here. It's in the shade. But as the sun tracks across the sky, is it going to be in the sun this afternoon? So you may want to pick it up and move it somewhere to where it's going to be in the shade while you're gone. And if you're at your camp during the day, keep an eye on your cooler. As the sun starts to encroach on your cooler, then move your cooler. Keep it out of that sun. Now I understand that if you're just on a 1 or 2 day trip, that having a big cooler out in the sun isn't going to affect anything. But if you're out there in the middle of the sticks for several days or even a week, just leaving it out in the sun for 1 day can take a couple days off your ice retention. And that's tips number 21 through 30 of my 50 ways to keep the ice in your cooler lasting longer. I'm looking forward to doing the last 2 videos for doing tips number 31 through 50. So stick around. I'll be posting those sometime. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get those, because as you can see, it's fall here now, and for me to get out and do these videos, it's going to be kind of difficult once winter sets in. So anyway, this is Backpack Hack coming at you with these 10 tips of keeping the ice in your cooler lasting longer. Be safe out there. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share my videos, and I'll see you out there on the trail.